It is so hard living in a toxic environment. You're working so hard on your growth and being a better person, but you just keep feeling like you're being pulled back because of the environment that you're in. Baby girl, I know this feeling. In this video, I'm going to tell you how you can protect your mental health when you're living in a toxic or disruptive environment. And this is going to apply to like family members. If you're South Asian, I get it. Roommates, siblings, whatever it is. If you don't know me, guys, my name is Neethi. I'm everything self-development, mental health. I worked in attachment and mental health research for years, and I was a degree from the University of Toronto. Everything that I say is backed in experience and research. So let's get into the video. So I definitely know what it's like to live in an environment that is not the healthiest. You know, without getting too much into it, I was raised in a home that was definitely unstable. It was definitely chaotic. My two parents didn't really get along. So there was a lot of yelling, there was a lot of screaming. You know, my parents are immigrants from India, and so there was obviously a lot of clashing that would happen in the house, I think, between like the two societies, the Western society and the Indian society. And I was a little bit of like a more outspoken girl, like not really as traditional. And so there were times when I go back into my childhood and my home definitely felt unsafe, emotionally unsafe, physically unsafe at times. And even right now, I'm 25 and I'm healed and I'm way beyond that, I still look back and I think about how much that affected me and how scary of a place it was to be in an environment like that. I think that now I'm removed and I live on my own and stuff, but when I look back at how difficult it was, I think it's so important for me to kind of go through the coping mechanisms that I used to kind of survive that. Even now, I think I'm in a completely different scenario that's almost like similar to my childhood in a way, and I don't know if it's like the universe teaching me lessons, but I'm living with somebody who's like super toxic, like a roommate, and it's like the same shit coming up. And so I thought that this video would be perfect for you guys because these dynamics can pop up anywhere in your life. And so I think it's really important for you to be able to protect your own mental health and your peace and grow as a human being and not let your environment stop you. Your home is supposed to be your sanctuary, and so I know that it not being your sanctuary is actually a big deal. Everybody deserves to have a safe space, and for most people that's usually the home. So it does create a lot of issues when that home is no longer your safe space, you know? So I wanted to talk about the impact of living with toxic people. It definitely takes an emotional toll on you. You're gonna have a lot of anxiety, you have a racing thoughts, you have a lack of peace. Sometimes you're just going through normal life things, school, work, friendships, whatever a teenager or an adolescent is like supposed to go through. And I feel like sometimes, like when I think back, you're not able to actually process it because you're not living in an environment that's like peaceful and quiet where you can like sit with your thoughts and sit with your feelings. I think when you live in a chaotic environment, it's like something's always happening. And so you're not given that time to like digest things, your time to reflect things, which I think just makes it harder to process things in life. It just leaves you with a lot of things that don't end up being processed. You have to deal with kind of later. There's obviously a lack of peace. A lot of times, like, you know, especially if you're in like a South Asian household, there's a lack of privacy, your things, your space, your phone, things like that. The other thing is being in like fight or flight. When you live in chaos, your body is going to live in fight or flight. Your body is not in rest and digest state. If you don't know what fight or flight is, it's basically like in the caveman days, you would be in the state of needing to run when you'd be like getting attacked, not having food and like needing to like not be hunted. Your body would go into this animalistic state of panic in order to help your survival. And we've carried those nervous system patterns to this day. And so when you don't feel safe, your body goes into a state that is that severe and extreme, because at the end of the day, like, we are animals, like biologically that's how we are. And so when you don't feel safe in an environment, your body does a lot of crazy things. Your heart races so that you can run, you suppress your appetite, so that's why sometimes you don't eat, you can break out, you can have sleep issues because obviously you and your mind is running, you can't sleep properly. A lot of times when you live in a toxic environment, it can affect so much, and I think that your body is in a low state of fight or flight always. So you're just operating, living, sleeping, going about your daily life in a state of fight or flight. And imagine just like being in a state of panic that you're not meant to be in all the time. A state of panic is only supposed to be activated once in a while. So imagine living in a state of panic and all the tolls that it's taking to your body, but not only that, your mental health. When you're always in fight or flight, it's like you're always just anticipating the next blow up, anticipating the next fight, anticipating the next reaction, anticipating the ball to drop. And that is like the worst feeling. I think I've experienced that with family, but also even. It's like a constant, like your brain wants to keep you on high alert to protect you from whatever's gonna come next, because it's so scared of like not the unpredictability of like the explosions or like what's gonna freaking sweep you off your feet now. Being in this state is going to lead you to exhaustion. Obviously, you know, that state is not meant to be lived in. Your heart is racing, your appetite is suppressed, you're going to be tired, you're not sleeping properly, you're not able to think clearly. Hypervigilance, so you're always on alert of like people's moods around you, or like how they're going to react, or like tiptoeing around them so that you don't stir the pot, because you just like don't want to have to go through another explosion. And obviously difficulty focusing on yourself, which is a whole other thing. Your life, your career, your friendships, your mental health, all of that stuff. You obviously cannot focus on that when your focus is just protecting yourself and like having a peaceful environment. You know what I mean? So this takes me to the next part of this video, which is the boundaries that saved me. There are different things that you can do. There are energetic boundaries. When you think about it, the only thing you really have control of when you're living in a toxic environment is your own response and your own energy. And that's something that I really had to learn the hard way. Like, you really have to clock that, because you're gonna feel out of control a lot. If you're always dependent on how other people are reacting or what they're saying or what they're doing, you don't have any control of your life, which is what's gonna drive you insane. And so what you do need to really realize is that you do have control over certain things, and that is your energy and your reaction. So that's what I mean by energetic boundaries. You have the power to not respond. Whether that's literally in a situation where someone is saying something to you, you have the power to not respond. You have the power to not answer a toxic text. You have the power to not answer a job. You have the power to disengage when somebody is saying something hurtful, mean, blowing up, throwing a temper tantrum. That is what is in your power, and that is going to be your energetic boundary. The less energy you give somebody who is a toxic person or somebody who is creating this negative environment for you, the better it's going to be for you. Because I'm telling you, the more you engage, the more energy you give it, you're opening up yourself to then receive more hurt. There's also emotional boundaries. These are kind of things that you need to tell yourself. If you're emotional like me, I think that I would let these toxic environments, or like these toxic people, what their words when they would say when they're angry or chaotic or whatever, get to me emotionally, and then I would be an emotional mess, and I'd sit there and I'd cry and I'd be like upset. How could they say this to me? I think if you were living in a place that's not like the healthiest, at some point you're gonna realize like this person's words like do not mean anything to me anymore. Look at the person like that's really sad, that's how they think and that's how they act, especially at this age. They don't have the emotional maturity to even regulate themselves, and so why would I care what they have to say about me? I know it's easier said than done, but you need to say like that person's words, what that person says to me, and the digs that that person makes to me is revealing how they think and how they are as a human being. It's not actually revealing me. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I know who I am. You're the only person who knows who you are. You're the only person who sits with you all day, listens to your thoughts. That you need to have emotional boundaries in the sense of like those jabs, those words. You cannot let them take an emotional toll on you as much as they are doing. And this is something that I think it just comes with time, and it just comes with maturity. And to this day, like, I still struggle with this. I give other people what they say a lot of importance, especially if I have some sort of relationship with them, or had, or especially if they're a family member or like a parent or a sibling or like a friend. It hurts. But I think if this is a pattern, at some point you're gonna have to realize like what this person says about me, oh my god. It reveals how angry they are. They say hurt people, right? It's not actually meaning anything about me. And that's an emotional boundary that you're putting up. There's also nervous system regulation, which I really want to talk about. I think that this is extremely important, and we often just like skim over it in life. And when we're in these toxic environments, if your nervous system is not regulated, you can have long-term health issues, actually. You can have severe thinking cognition issues. I'm telling you this because I studied this and I've seen it firsthand in research. You really need to have tools to regulate your nervous system in this environment. So grounding yourself when you're triggered. Somebody's saying something to you, someone's throwing a tantrum, someone is invading your space, someone's invading your privacy, someone's making a job at you. You need to learn that your body wants to go into this flight of like, this state of like, I am not safe, and like panic, even sometimes without even realizing that we're doing that. And so what I want you to do in that moment is I want you to pause. You need to separate what is happening on the outside from your internal state for a second, and that happens when you pause. I want you to place your hand on your chest. I want you to do really slow breathing. So what I do is I do in for 4, hold for 4, and then out for 6. Do this 4 times 4 before you react. And the reason why I'm telling you to do this, you might think that this is stupid, it's not doing anything, your mind is still racing, is because your body needs to get out of the fight or flight state. When you put your hand on your chest, when you pause, when you do the slow breathing, it automatically slows down your heart rate, which is the first thing that your nervous system wants to increase. It slows it down. It starts to tell yourself, you know what, I'm safe. Literally tell yourself, I'm safe in this moment right now. I'm not in like a literal threat and danger. No animal is coming to pounce at me. There's no threat to my actual survival 99% of the time, I hope. And that's when I think you can actually think clearly. Because when you're in a state of fight or flight, I'm telling you, your brain is in such a survival mode that certain firing patterns are shut off. This is a literal neuroscience thing. That sometimes the logical part of you is shut off. That's why we react. We act out of emotion. And so you need to get your body first out of the state of fight or flight, calm the nervous system down, and then think about how to react. This takes me to the next part, which is creating a safe space and rituals. So this is the biggest issue when you live with somebody or you live in a toxic environment. You don't have a safe space, right? And so I think it's extremely important to realize that you can still have a safe space no matter where you are in this world, no matter where you're living, no matter who you're with. You can have a physical safe space. So maybe that's your bedroom, and your safe space is not your whole entire home, but it's your bedroom, your vanity, your corner. Maybe you literally have to share a room and you have like a corner in your room, and that one chair with your blanket, maybe literally under your blanket. This little bubble of air, I don't care if it's like 1 meter square, is my safe space. You need to have a safe space. For me, it's my bed, it's my room. But no matter where it is, in the basement, in your car, a lot of people, their safe space is their car because they don't have it at home. You need to have somewhere that feels safe to you, and it's kind of, I guess, obviously away from like anybody who's toxic, and it's just like by yourself, because that's where you're gonna think, that's where you're gonna calm yourself down, and that's where you're gonna regulate. You need to also have rituals, I think, that keep you in a routine and keep you feeling grounded in that space. So whether that's like your skincare every single night in the bathroom and you shut the door. Actually, I guess the bathroom can be another safe space. Shower. But like your skincare, that's like your routine. That's what you do for yourself. You're investing in yourself. You're taking care of yourself, and that's like calming you. Maybe it's getting your nails done. That's like something you do for yourself. I have a whole self-respected sexy vlog about getting my nails done and how important that actually is to me. The deep meaning behind it. Journaling. Maybe, you know, you sit in your cozy corner, you sit under your blanket, or you freaking sit in your car and you journal and you get all your thoughts out and you get your feelings out and you process things, because at the end of the day, like, you're going through things in life, normal or not normal, fortunate or unfortunate, and you need a space to process those things as healthily as you can. So journaling is extremely important. Showers, you know, hot showers once a night, for some people that's really important. That's where they think, that's where they can have thoughts. They need a space where they're free to be themselves. These things that you are doing are nervous system anchors. So if you do these things at the same time daily and you have a routine, it's training your body to actually feel safe through consistency. And so consistency and safety is really all your body craves. As somebody who grew up in a toxic environment, has lived in toxic environments, consistency is so important to me, because when I feel like everything is predictable, I feel safe. Because when you grow up around unpredictability, when you live around unpredictability, all you crave is predictability and for things to be consistent. So you have to create this consistency through these rituals in your own life. With the showers every day, with the skincare at the same time, with the workout at the same time, with the journaling in your car at the same time every day. Maybe before you go inside your house every day, you sit in your car for 15 minutes. You need those consistencies to teach you that your life is as predictable and safe as you can make it. And then here are some nervous system reset tools. So obviously breath work I mentioned, doing 4-7-8 breathing technique. I think I did 4-6. Breathing when your heart races, breathing when you have anxiety, movement. This is one thing I've recently started doing, is like when you have anxiety or when you're anticipating, you have anticipatory anxiety, like what's gonna happen, what's this person gonna come home and say, what's this person gonna do to me next, you have to move. And I literally mean, like, I don't mean go to the gym, I mean like stand up and shake it out. You sometimes have to physically like release that anxiety out of your body. Stretching, walks, anything. You have to release it. Sensory grounding, so this is like kind of like shocking your senses a little bit. So it could be like a cold shower. It's kind of like resetting your senses. Splashing something cold, holding something textured. I know that some people have like those cubes or something, like textured things. Even focusing on your 5 senses, they'll say like list 5 things you can hear, 5 things you can see, 5 things you can smell right now. That's gonna regulate your nervous system and bring you back to a more calmer state. These are not gonna fix your environment, I'm gonna be completely honest, but they will help your body feel safe inside of an unsafe space. And at the end of the day, you need to feel safe. No matter where you are, you need to feel safe. So we can make ourselves feel safe even if the environment is not the safest. Next, I want to talk about a little bit of some mindset shifts that I think are going to help you. I think that as someone who, if you live in an unsafe environment, you grow up, even if you just grew up in one, you're always anticipating things, right? You're always like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? I think that you really need to realize that you anticipating things and overthinking things and trying to predict things, that's your way that your brain is trying to keep you safe, right? It wants to find what's going to be predictable so that you can handle it. But it also has a negative side to it, in which you're reliving a negative situation twice by anticipating something, by imagining it, you're suffering twice. Don't rehearse the worst case scenario. Don't already think of like, what's the worst thing this person can do? What are they gonna do now? What are they gonna do? Oh my god. To protect yourself, don't relive it twice. You're actually physically, neuroscience will tell you your body and your brain are feeling things. Even when you're just imagining it, it thinks that it's actually happening, so you actually are reliving it twice. If you're living somewhere like not toxic, I do think it's important to also like realistically do things like save for a move, start a plan, start looking for places, have a realistic goal. Focus on the light at the end of the tunnel, have a date, have something, because that's something that really helped me, because that'll give you like, you know, something to kind of like light at the end of the tunnel. You're not feeling like super discouraged. And I think that it gives you hope, and you need that little hope, even if it's months down the line. You need something to tell you like, okay, like, you know, in 1 year from now, I'm not gonna be here, because that's gonna like keep you from like, I think going, like when you don't see hope, I think is when you start feeling worse. It also gives your nervous system an exit signal, like, you know, that like, don't worry, like, you're not always going to be in this state. You will get out of the state one day with this exit plan. Finally, I want to tell you guys that if the outer world feels unsafe, your inner world can actually be your safe space. Your nervous system, your rituals, your mindset, they can help you survive toxic situations, toxic living environments, whatever you're in. There are things, I know that like life is not always ideal, and it's really easy that I think some people just be like, oh, get out of that environment, just move, why don't you move? And I know that's not always feasible. There's money issues, there's family issues, there's a lot of things, there's age, that you can't just move. And so I think that I really wanted to talk about these things that are actually going to help you while you're in that environment until you can eventually leave the situation or figure it out. Because that's also a really important time of your life, you know what I mean? You can't just be like, oh, I'm just gonna deal with this until I move. If you ever had to protect your peace in a toxic living environment, a toxic home, please comment your story below, and I would love to hear it and share some more tips with my other subscribers. If you don't know me, once again, I post twice a week. I am your older sister brown girl, everything confidence, self-development, dating. I also post shorter form content on TikTok and Instagram, so you can follow me there. I also host Girls IRL events where POC girls come together. We do a confidence panel. You meet other like-minded girls. My next one is on October 4th in Toronto. You can find the ticket link down below, and I hope to see you guys there. Bye.